This video will show you how to set your grading scheme to the elementary proficiency scale inside Canvas. On your homeroom, you need to go to Settings and scroll all the way down until you see Grading Scheme. And you need to check the box Enable Course Grading Scheme. Another option will pop up, View Grading Scheme, and you want to click inside there. You can see the default grading scheme, and we don't want that one. We want to select another one up here in the right-hand corner. And we're looking for the elementary proficiency scale. So you can see that there is the beam scale right here, and you use this grading standard. Okay. Now you might notice that there are some percentage cut scores. We have to put percentages in here to use our grading scheme. And so we're just going to be focused on the mastery, the M, the A approaching, E for emerging, and believe for below expectation. So then we push done, and now we need to update our course details. Okay, so let me show you a little bit of how that ties into your assignments. Okay, so I've created a sample assignment. Okay, I've got it on a 4-point scale, and I just used it as a text entry box. Okay, now I've also set it to have the letter grade here as the display grade. So inside your grade book, and what kids should see is their letter grade as far as the M for mastery and so on. Okay, so I'm going to have that due Friday, so I have a due date. Now I also want to add a rubric. So this will help me in the grade book, and the kids can see that proficiency scale, not just 4 points. Okay, so if I click here to add a rubric, okay, I want to find an outcome. They have like this default one that we can immediately create, but I don't want to have to keep recreating the elementary proficiency scale to remind students. Okay, so I'm going to go here to find an outcome, and it says, oh, I don't have any outcomes. Click here to create one. You're just going to go find one. You don't even have to actually create it. So you're going to find, and it's under our Independence account. This happens to be at an elementary school, but I want to be at the school district. Then it's going to open up to 2 folders that we already have set up. You want to go into elementary, and then it gives you some choices. You can see that we're working on some fluency outcomes here, but we want this elementary proficiency scale. And there we see our mastery, approaching, emerging, and below. Okay, and it even has some points on here as far as the calculation. But again, there's another way that we can just focus on the mastery of what the student is showing us. So I'm going to import this into my course. Okay, so import is successful. I'm going to go back to my assignment. And I'm going to be looking here for the rubric. I want to find an outcome. And now I actually have an outcome. So if I do that once, I should be able to keep using that over and over and over again. Okay, so then I bring that into this actual assignment. Okay, now this default blank one up here, I don't need that. So I can just go ahead and trash that one, get rid of it. And then I can call this the proficiency scale. Okay, if I type that correctly. Okay. And that's what students will see on their assignment. Okay. So there's some other nice settings here. We can remove the points if we don't want this calculation to show and really have the kids focus on the mastering, approaching, emerging, and below. It's not an emergency. So then I can create that rubric. So I used an outcome to create my own rubric, which they do tie together. Okay. So now I can be my test student, and I will show you what that will look like. Okay, so if I go home and actually need to post that on my Learn page. So I'm just going to show you here real quick. And I'm going to do this sample. So that is nice and handy at the top here when I become a student. And go ahead and keep that there at the top. All right, now I can be my sample student. Okay, so I'll go to Learn and go in here. Oh, looky here. Here is what I'm going to be graded on. I'm ready to submit my assignment. And I'm just going to say some example. I'm going to scroll down here. Oh, I still am reminded of what my expectations are, and I'm going to submit my assignment. Okay, and I get my great confetti. So now I'm going to leave student view and head on over to the grade book and see what that looks like for us as teachers when we are giving students feedback. Okay, so I've opened up the assignment. I can see I typed in some example. There's my work. And now over here, I see this grading scale. So if I kind of open this up, I've got my scale, and I can look at that work and just say, yes, that student is mastering. I can add comments here at the same time, but if I save it, okay, then the student knows that there's an M for mastery. Okay, I can actually put in 4 points if I need to, and then make comments here. Okay, so that student has their feedback and submit. Okay, so then again, what does that look like then on the student side of things? So if I come over here and head back to my home, so if you noticed, let me go back 1 second here. If you noticed, the M popped up in the gradebook for me right there. So there's the sample. I know that that student was a mastered that specific assignment and skill. Okay, so now if I go to homeroom and the student view, let's see what that looks like for my student. I can go into grades here. And now I'm looking for that sample assignment. Here it is right here. Shows me that I got an M, and I can click here and look at the rubric and look at the comments, and the rubric will be right here. So it gives me this green, mastering the expectation, and it also gives me 4 points, which is an M. Okay. That helps kids realize that we're still looking for mastery approaching emerging and below expectation. So we've got the rubric, we've used an outcome. Now, if I go back to my grade book, one last thing I want to connect for you as far as that grading scale. So we changed from the traditional grading scale all the way to the elementary proficiency scale. Now you'll notice on this far column, we now have some letter grades. Okay, so if I want to click those 3 dots, I can move that to the front and it will populate right next to my student names to see how they are doing, to give me an idea. Now, caution here, we have all of our contents inside one gradebook for elementary. Okay, so there's no way that we can split this out very easily to say what is the how is my student doing just in math only. We're not that far yet, but we're moving closer. Okay, and so the total you can see of the students overall are mastering below the expectation. But this does help me flag those kids that look to be very much at risk in the core curriculum of all content areas in elementary in my classroom so far. So it does help us, gives us more information than just the points for the assignments. Okay, so I hope this has helped get us a little bit closer to our grading philosophy and our proficiency scales. We have more to do to develop, but this will hopefully get us closer to reality.